people that were at Standing Rock and these native leaders, right? I've seen that also, Teresa. Johnny Dangers is out there. Wherever Johnny Dangers is, there's always dangers. Leaders. Hi, right? Everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be I've seen that also. Some of the hypocrisy behind Johnny Dangers is out there. I understand wherever Johnny Dangers is, there's always dangers. White people that are allies. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be covering some of the hypocrisy behind this and sovereign nations. I understand defending the rights of indigenous people. All of that is great and white people that and necessary allies in here's the thing. Movement when you have protecting sovereignty and pretending nations of defending the rights of indigenous people, all of that is great and good, especially and necessary in the world. People that are connected to Antifa, all it does when you have is cause pain and suffering. So the last time that I shared people with you supplanting the voice of real Native people with especially people that are connected to Antifa, Portland, all it does last year in August is cause pain and suffering. When he was out there with Evan Duke and a bunch of other people from Standing Rock, with you what Tawasi was up. There was some rioting that happened, and Evan Duke was arrested after those riots last year. Remember that? August. I reported on that. I sent information and a bunch of other people from Standing Rock. Evan Duke being there. There was some rioting that happened. About a week later, he got arrested. Was arrested after those riots. Do you guys remember that? I reported on that. I sent information. Then, a month ago, he was yelling at people in Portland because they were taking down there was a statue of, I think it was Washington, and they had painted stolen land on the base of the statue, and there was colonizer and all sorts of things like this, right? What happens? He yells at the news crew and tells the news crew they need to leave, and he's yelling at the women there. And guess what? He was just arrested the other day along with 21 other people, and they are facing federal charges after weekend protests at the federal courthouse in Portland. This is from Monday, July 27th. So, as you know, I've been reporting on other things in the last week or so, but this important information I wanted to bring you this week, and I'm going to be refocusing on a lot of what's going on in Indian country and in spaces that should be inhabited by Indian voices. So this is what occurred. First of all, let me share the tweet. Andy No tweeted out that there was a bunch of different arrests that took place. Been federally charged in relation to past few days of violent protests and rioting in Portland. This is one of the people, Carly Ann Ballard, age 34, Michael Bouchard, 36, David Michael Bouchard, charged with assaulting federal officers. Ballard has now been arrested numerous times already by Portland police in recent weeks and was quickly released. Jocelyn Kreutz, 28, Dakota Eastman, 30, Ezra Myers, 18, Mark Rolikinov, 28, all arrested by federal authorities at the violent Antifa protest the 23rd and the 24th of July. And then we get to Tawasi. On July 24th, U.S. federal agents arrested a Canadian man, Ronald Bernard Hickey. That's his real name. Ronald Bernard Hickey. That's not very clear, is it? What can I do to make this more clear for all of you? Let's see. Let's see if that's better. It's a little bit better. Yay. Okay. So on July 24th, U.S. federal agents arrested Canadian, not American, Canadian Ronald Bernard Hickey for harassing and stalking federal authorities. He used his Twitter account, Tawasi Arrest, and that is definitely his Twitter account. He used his account, Tawasi Arrest, that's the name that he goes by, to allegedly dox officers and incite violence. So let's go to the details. Many other people were also arrested, as you can see. This is what it says. Earlier version of this press release incorrectly identified the person arrested July 24th as Ronald Bernard Hickey, 44, a Canadian national. This man has not been charged with any crime in the correct name. Canadian national is incorrect. That's incorrect. He is Tawasi, no last name. How is this man not identifiable by a real name with a real ID and date of birth? I mean, think about that. This man, who they thought was Ronald Bernard Hickey of Canada, that must have been because they found some form of ID on him to that effect. Turns out there's a real Ronald Bernard Hickey of Canada, and that's not the guy that they have in custody. What has he told them about himself? What do they know about him? Nothing. They know nothing about him other than he's 44 and he's from Corvallis, Oregon. Tawasi, no last name. I'm pretty sure that's not his real name. So it says here, U.S. Attorney Billy Williams announced today that 22 people have been arrested, are facing federal charges for their roles in the weekend protests at the Mark Hatfield Courthouse in Portland. According to court documents, since May 26, 2020, protests in downtown Portland have been followed by nightly criminal activity, including assaults on law enforcement officers, destruction of property, looting, arson, and vandalism. The Hatfield Federal Courthouse has been a nightly target of vandalism during the evening protests and riots, sustaining extensive damage. U.S. Marshals Services deputies and officers from the Federal Protective Services, Homeland Security's investigations, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection working to protect the courthouse have been subjected to nightly threats and assaults from demonstrators while performing their duties. 6 people were charged for alleged criminal conduct during a protest beginning July 23rd and continuing into the early morning of July 24th. Carly Ann Ballard, David Michael Bouchard, charged with assaulting officers, Jocelyn Kreutz, Dakota Eastman, all the names I read to you before. On July 24th, agents of Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection arrested Tawasi, no last name, age 44, of Corvallis, Oregon, for harassing and stalking federal employees assigned to assist the Federal Protection Services, FPS, with ongoing civil unrest in Portland. Tawasi used his account, Tawasi Arrest, to knowingly release personal information of these employees, federal employees, in an attempt to threaten, intimidate, or incite violence against them. Okay? These are federal charges of threatening and intimidation. Notice who he was arrested by. He was not arrested by the same police or Federal Protection Services or U.S. Marshals. He specifically, by himself, separately, was arrested by Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. That's who arrested Tawasi. So 8 people were arrested and have been charged for alleged criminal conduct during a protest beginning on July 25th and continuing into the morning of July 26th. And those people are Rebecca Gonzalez Mota, 37, Stephen O'Donnell, 65, Thomas Johnson, 33, Nathan Oderdonk Snow, Joshua Webb, Pablo Avocado, Doug Dean, and they are charged with assaulting federal officers. Richard Linsett, this is important because Richard Linsett had something to do connected with Tawasi. Richard Linsett, 33, was charged with operating a drone in restricted airspace. Remember when they went to Mexico, when they were doing all of this nonsense with the caravans, and they were flying against the law, basically? They used the drones as their reconnaissance up in the air. That's what they used them for. Louise Catherine, he has a huge following. His Facebook ends on July 24th. He was live streaming. Yeah, he was arrested. He was arrested. So let's take a look at the other stories about this and what. This is from Global Pandemic News. Ronald Bernard Hickey, they're still using that name. As we know, the press release I just read to you is updated to the minute, and it says the guy they thought was Ronald Bernard Hickey of Canada is somebody else, and Tawasi is the guy that they have in custody for these crimes. So my guess is that there's some ID issue. He probably was ID on him, and they thought that that was his real name. It says here that, federal officers arrested 22 people, and that this was due to demonstrations that were going on around the federal Hatfield courthouse. Most of the new arrests were on charges of assaulting a federal officer, but Ronald Bernard Hickey, which we know is Tawasi, no last name, Sose, 44, was charged with stalking and harassing federal officers. According to an affidavit filed in the case, Mr. Tawasi, using the account Tawasi Sose, posted videos of federal agents being housed at a Marriott hotel, and he asked his followers to call the hotel and urge them to stop housing violent federal goons. He also urged for hotel employees to mess with the food orders of the police, of the federal agents. That's not cool. An ICE agent said he connected Tawasi to the account after a video in which Tawasi inadvertently showed his own car license plates on the video, on his live stream. After seeing his post one night that he was out protesting, they tracked down his car, staked it out, and then arrested him. The prosecutor, Mr. Williams, said that he also charged Richard Linsett with operating a drone in restricted airspace that same night. No case documents were available. Okay, lost my connection. So this is not looking very good, folks. This is not looking very good. This was a one that will likely end up hurting other protesters, and, put a much harsher light on other protesters. This is a guy I've been telling you that it has been inciting violence, has been out in these protests since last year in August when they were out there with Evan Duke. And here you go. About a month after I reported last on what he was doing out in Portland, he's been arrested now for harassing and stalking and doxing federal officers and asking for violence to be incited against them. And I'll be bringing you more pretendians that need to be exposed, especially within the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement, because many of the people who became part of the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement and that are in the leadership of that have turned out to be pretendians, and they are taking away the voice, they're silencing the voices of Native Americans with real issues. There's a lot of reasons why these pretendians are problematic, and I'm going to be bringing you some more in-depth reporting on that. I know that there has been other reports that have been done recently about this by Jacqueline Keeler. She's done an extensive amount of reporting on it. I'm probably going to be summarizing some of what she already did a wonderful job of doing, and you can go and find all of her podcasts about the 3-part series on pretendians that she just recently did on Pollination Magazine. There's also a lot of backlash I'm seeing out there right now. Lots of backlash because somebody has dared to expose pretendians causing harm to the Native American community. And what I have to say about that is, who is the backlash coming from? Pay attention to who the backlash is coming from. What motivates people to protect and defend pretendians that are taking the voice away and the spots and the opportunities away from Native Americans? Who are those people? What motivates them to stand next to pretendians who are taking opportunities away from people in Indian country? You need to ask yourself those questions, and I will be bringing you more in-depth reporting on who those people are, but I wanted to quickly pop in and give you the latest on Tawasi. Folks, if anybody out there knows more about Tawasi's true identity, real name, please hit me up. You can even do so anonymously, and I will make sure your name stays anonymous, but I would like to find out more on exactly what this guy has been doing and who he really is. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Cindy Gomez-Schempp of A Mexican Crossing Lines. I was just bringing you a quick update on the arrest of Tawasi Arrest. Thank you very much, folks. We'll check you out very soon here on A Mexican Crossing Lines on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo, Moorhead. Have a great evening.